Here's the thing nobody in this space wants to say out loud. ISO 2020 went fully live on November 22, 2025. Every single bank-to-bank payment on the SWIFT network now runs on this standard. The Federal Reserve's Fedwire made the switch in July. The European Central Bank, the Bank of England. Done. Live. Real. And yet, most of the coins you've been holding, the ones you were told would explode the moment this happened, they're bleeding. Some of them are down 70, 80, 90% from their highs. So let me ask you the uncomfortable question. What if the problem isn't the market? What if the problem is the coin? Because here's what nobody is telling you. ISO 2020-22 compliance is not a guarantee of adoption. It never was. It is a messaging standard, a data format. It does not pick winners. It does not endorse tokens. It does not care about your portfolio. What it does is create a lane, a very specific, very demanding lane, and only the coins that can prove real institutional traction, real on-chain volume, and real partnerships with real money behind them will survive long enough to matter. So today we're going through 5 of the most talked about ISO 2020-22 coins, and for each one I'm going to give you the honest picture, not the hype, not the hopium, the data, because some of these are building and some of these are quietly dying, and you need to know which is which before the next wave hits. Let's start with the one most of you are holding, ALGO, Algorand, the coin that was supposed to be the institutional blockchain of the future. And look, the technology is legitimately impressive. Pure proof of stake, carbon neutral, sub 4-second finality, over 10,000 transactions per second. It partnered with FIFA. It has CBDC pilots. It has government collaborations. On paper, this coin should be thriving right now. But here is the reality. Algo hit an all-time high of $3.56 in June of 2019, right after launch. It has never come close to that level again. In 2022, it fell 90%. It hit an all-time low of 8.76 cents in 2023. It bounced to 61 cents in late 2024 on what analysts called the Trump trade rally, and then it crashed again. Right now, in February of 2026, Algo is sitting around 13 cents. That is down over 96% from its all-time high. 97% of current Algo holders are in the red. Not some holders, 97%. And the deeper problem? Algorand missed the 2 biggest narrative cycles of the last 4 years. It missed the DeFi boom of 2021, Ethereum dominated that. It missed the meme coin supercycle of 2023 and 2024, Solana owned that moment. It has no cultural identity, no dominant use case that retail connects with. The foundation just relocated back to Delaware from Singapore, which tells you it's restructuring, not scaling. The total value locked in Algorand's DeFi ecosystem is $84 million. For context, that is a rounding error compared to Ethereum's $50 billion. Algo is not dead, but it is deeply wounded, and the clock is ticking on whether the institutional adoption narrative ever actually materializes into price. Now let's talk about a coin that doesn't get discussed enough when we talk about risk. XLM, Stellar Lumens. Stellar is actually a member of the ISO 2020 standardization body, one of only 2 crypto projects alongside XRP to hold that designation. It works with IBM. It processed remittances for MoneyGram. It is technically impressive and genuinely aligned with the standard. So why is it on this list? Because alignment and dominance are 2 completely different things. Stellar was built for the unbanked, for micropayments, for low-cost remittances across borders. That is a genuinely important use case, but here is the problem. That market is crowded and intensely competitive. XRP does cross-border payments for banks at institutional scale. HBAR processes enterprise-grade transactions with Google and IBM backing its governance, and Stellar's market cap sits around $3 billion, roughly 1/30th of XRP's. The IBM partnership, one of Stellar's flagship credentials, has gone noticeably quiet. There has been no major new institutional announcement that moves the needle on actual settlement volume. Stellar's network activity is functional. It is not growing fast enough to compete in the tier it needs to occupy. This coin could survive, but it could also spend the next 3 years as a perfectly compliant ghost, technically alive, practically irrelevant. Now here is where it gets genuinely interesting, because the next three coins are not a simple story. IOTA. If you wrote this coin off, you need to stop and pay attention right now. IOTA just had arguably the most operationally significant year of any ISO 20022 aligned project in 2025. The rebased protocol upgrade in May 2025 delivered full decentralization and over 50,000 transactions per second with sub-400 millisecond finality. BitGo, a major institutional custodian, added full IOTA mainnet support in December 2025, removing one of the biggest barriers to regulated institutional investment. And IOTA became a founding technology partner in ADAPT, a continental initiative backed by the World Economic Forum, the Tony Blair Institute, and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, with the goal of digitalizing African trade and unlocking tens of billions in economic value. Santiment ranked IOTA 5th for meaningful developer GitHub activity in the real-world asset sector. IOTA connected its mainnet to Layer 0 and Stargate, linking it to 150 different blockchain networks. This is not vaporware. This is infrastructure being built and deployed. IOTA is genuinely executing. The price has not caught up yet, but the fundamentals are moving in the right direction. XDC. The network most retail investors have never heard of, and that might actually be its superpower. XDC was purpose-built for trade finance and global supply chains. It uses a hybrid public-private blockchain architecture. It works with R3, a consortium of over 200 financial institutions. It supports the tokenization of real-world assets, including invoices and commodities. It is one of the few networks in this space that has native ISO 20022 messaging built into the protocol itself, not bolted on, not interpreted through a middleware layer, native. XDC quietly powers enterprise workflows that most retail investors never see because they don't show up on CoinGecko trending pages. The risk for XDC is not collapse, it's obscurity. If it cannot generate enough retail awareness and liquidity alongside its enterprise traction, price discovery will remain suppressed regardless of how much real utility is flowing through the network. And then there is HBAR, Hedera Hashgraph. Let me be direct with you here, because HBAR deserves more credit than it gets in the ISO 2020-22 conversation. Its governing council includes Google, IBM, Boeing, Deutsche Telekom, LG, and over 20 other global corporations, not advisors, not investors, governing council members. That structure is almost unprecedented in crypto. HBAR processed over 15 billion transactions on its network. It is not a white paper project. It has a fixed supply and a deflationary tokenomics model. And in the real-world asset space, Santiment ranked Hedera first for meaningful GitHub development activity. First, above every other ISO 2020-22 coin. The bear case for HBAR is centralization concerns. The governing council model that makes it so attractive to institutions also makes crypto purists uncomfortable, and the retail narrative has never fully caught fire the way XRP's has. But from a fundamental standpoint, HBAR is arguably the most institutionally credible token in this entire category outside of XRP itself. And that brings us to the elephant in the room, XRP. RippleNet is the only decentralized payment protocol to hold a seat in the ISO 2020-22 registration management group, alongside the Bank of England, the European Central Bank, Visa, and MasterCard. That is not marketing, that is membership. XRP settles in 3 to 5 seconds. Ripple officially joined the ISO 2020-22 standards body in late 2024. Analysts project XRP could benefit from 90% of projected ISO 2020-22 transaction volume through Ripple's institutional tools. Ripple launched RLUSD, its own stablecoin, to deepen its financial payment rails. The Ripple versus SEC case, which hung over this coin for 4 years, reached a resolution that allows Ripple to operate. XRP is not without risk. Token concentration, regulatory exposure in other jurisdictions, and the sheer size of its market cap limiting upside are all real concerns. But in terms of documented institutional integration with the ISO 2020-22 ecosystem, XRP is in a class of its own in this space. So let me give you the honest breakdown of what the data tells us right now in 2026. The The coin most at risk of becoming irrelevant is ALGO, not because the technology is bad, because the market cap, the holder loss rate, the lack of a dominant narrative, and the absence of headline institutional wins all point to a project that could flatline indefinitely, while better capitalized competitors absorb the institutional flows it was supposed to capture. The coin most underestimated right now is IOTA. Real deployments, real institutional infrastructure, real partnerships with global trade organizations. The price has not caught up yet, but the fundamentals are moving in the right direction. The coin with the most undisputed institutional credibility? HBAR. The coin with the most documented ISO20022 integration? XRP. And XDC remains the most interesting dark horse for anyone willing to look beyond market cap rankings into actual trade finance volume. Here is the brutal truth. ISO 2020-22 compliance was never going to make every coin on the list rich. It was always going to concentrate value into the projects that could prove they belonged in the financial system, not the ones that said they belonged, the ones that proved it. The separation is happening right now, quietly, while retail is distracted by meme coins and ETF headlines. The institutions are choosing, and the coins without real adoption, real volume, or real partnerships are going to find out what it means to be compliant but irrelevant. Pay attention to what is being built, not just what is being promised. If this video made you think differently about which coin you're holding and why, smash that like button. It genuinely signals to the algorithm that this kind of research-backed content is worth showing to more people, and that directly helps this channel grow. Subscribe if you want analysis that doesn't sugarcoat the data. Every video on this channel is built on real numbers and real on-chain activity, not whatever is trending on crypto Twitter that week. Drop your answer in the comments. Between ALGO, XLM, IOTA, HBAR, XDC, and XRP, which one do you think will be first to get replaced by a coin we haven't even heard of yet? I want to see the debate. And if you know someone who is holding any of these coins without knowing what is actually happening under the hood, share this with them. They need to see it before the next leg down makes the decision for them. Stay sharp, stay honest, and let the data lead.